Welcome to another of Cosette's Enchanted Journeys. This is Cosette, the crafty cat, who helps wish us away on a magic carpet where we can read some stories together in a special location and get inspired to do some crafts and fun things together when we're finished. I'm her storytelling genie friend, and it's wonderful to have you with us again today. We have talked, Cosette and I, and have another great story picked out for you today. This one we really like because it is a what they call a twist on a classic fairy tale. So you might have heard the story of the Three Little Pigs before, but have you heard the true story of the Three Little Pigs? What do you think, Cosette? Should we share the true story of the Three Little Pigs? Maybe our friend Mr. Wolf isn't such a bad guy. Do you want to find out together? All right, Cosette will send us off on our magic carpet as soon as we rub our hands together and say the magic words. Say them with me. I wish to go on an enchanted journey, and away we go. Doesn't matter how much I huff and puff, I certainly can't blow a house down. Are you ready for another of our Enchanted Journey stories? This one is the true story of the Three Little Pigs. Let's read it together. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig. And he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into somebody else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar from my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch, and I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig. Dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled, go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now you know, food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar from my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup from my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? The end. So, what did you think of the true story of the 3 little pigs? Was the wolf framed like he said, or was he a not very nice wolf? Maybe we'll never know. That's the fun of fairy tales and story tales, is we can let our imaginations consider the different possibilities and see what happens. I have an activity planned for us today that has to do with a frame and repurposing it to make it special and make it your very own picture frame that you can give away as a gift. So instead of making a birthday card or a birthday cake with a cup of sugar, you can make a frame and put a picture in it and give that as a gift. Do you want to go and do that with me now? All right, let's go. What did you think of Mr. Wolf getting framed in the true story of the 3 little pigs? Are you buying it? Yeah, I'm not so sure either. But I still thought it would be fun to take the idea of a frame and turn that into an activity for us today. So with this project, I'm going to use a couple of existing frames that I have laying around my house, and I'm going to repurpose them. If you do not have permission to use any frames or hot glue, or you don't have any frames laying around the house, you can still participate in this activity. You can take a piece of cardboard and draw a rectangle and cut around and cut in the center of it out so that it looks like a frame, something like this. And then you can use either saran wrap or maybe a plastic bag like this to put inside the cardboard edges so it'll look like a picture frame. Then you could put it with some magnets on your fridge, or you could hang it on the wall. The bonus part is that it would be very lightweight, so it'd be very easy to hang. Even a piece of tape would do. So I hope you're ready to begin this frame activity with me. Here we go. So I'm going to make 2 frames today with you. And something to keep in mind when you're making your frame is maybe you have a picture in mind that's going to go in the frame, and that's going to help you decide how to decorate your frame. For example, this big wood brown frame I have picked out. I have a larger picture here of my family and I at an aquarium, and it's too big for one of these smaller traditional sized frames. So I'm going to end up actually having to cut a little bit of this picture so that it will fit within this frame that I have picked out. But I'm going to put it in there, and I've decided that I'm going to decorate this wood to something a little bit more colorful, since this picture has a lot of blue in it, a little bit of red. I want something to stand out with that wood frame a little bit better. Now with this frame, I couldn't quite decide which photograph I wanted to use. And if you run into that where maybe you don't have a photograph or you're not sure which one, you could draw a picture with pencil and paper and crayons and cut that out and put that in the frame. You could print something off of your computer printer and put that in the frame. You could rescue an old book cover if it rips off of like a paperback book and stick that in there. Or if you're like me and you have some old postcards that you never sent and just aren't sure what to do with, you can use those in a frame. So I have this postcard from a place called South of the Border, which is on Interstate 95 in South Carolina at the border of North Carolina. And it's a place I've been to many times, so it has a special meaning and significance for me. So I'm actually going to stick this inside of the frame as if it was a picture. So I'm going to decorate this frame to go with the postcard. Okay, to get going, I'm going to start with this brown wood frame, and I have decided that I'm going to use it with this bright blue picture with the beluga whales. And to make that blue stand out a little bit more than the brown, and to make it kind of coordinate a little better, I have found some old puzzle pieces that are tropical. There's some purples, some pinks, some green, orange, some blues, just some colors that I think will pop from that picture. I'm going to use some tape and wrap it around the edge of my border, just along the sides, just so that when I look at the frame, it doesn't see any of the brown from the front or the side. So you can go ahead and get started. Now, if your frame is anything like mine, it might have a beveled edge. That's this part here where it's a little bit uneven. It's a detail. So using a flat frame or a smooth top is going to be easier to work with. But I'm just going to make sure I put extra glue in here so that my puzzle pieces will stick in even though that edge is not level. Because I have an uneven edge, that beveled edge that I was talking about here, there's this inner lip and there's outer one of different sizes. I'm going to glue some pieces around the inside and then cover over the top. I've started that here so you can see what I'm talking about. So if your frame is similar to mine, you can try this technique too. Got my first row started here, and as you can see, I'm just stacking pieces in any which way I see fit. Part of the fun of using puzzle pieces to redecorate the frame is it doesn't have to look perfect and even, and it might even be more interesting if you have multiple layers of pieces in different colors and different shapes and sizes going in different directions. So you can give that a try too if you like that. Otherwise, you can just line yours up along the edge. And I've covered my frame pretty completely with these puzzle pieces. Now, if you don't have puzzle pieces or don't want to use puzzle pieces, what else could you use? Well, as I've said before, you could use some sequins or some buttons or beads, which we're going to use in our next frame. Or you could use Legos if you have those. Those would look really great on a frame as well. If you think you're done, you can always set this one aside, let it dry, get all that glue nice and hard, take a step back, take a look at it, and decide if you want to add more to it later. So while we're letting this one simmer, I'm going to start on my next frame. And I like the reds and the yellows and the oranges that are in this postcard color. There's a lot of blue in there, there's a lot of white, there's a lot of green. So I'm going to use some of these smaller colors, the reds and the yellows and the oranges, just so this will pop out of the frame a little bit more. You can use whatever you like, whatever goes with the picture you decided, or you can surprise somebody and just make a really fun one. Remember, as you're doing this, the glue stick gets really hot, so be very careful when you push down on your buttons or sequins or Legos or whatever you use to put on your frame. I am going to use some of these letters here, and I'm going to write "I love south of the border" on the bottom of my frame. That takes a little bit of planning, so if you decide to use some beads like I do, try to plan it ahead. It'll make it easier. See, I'm trying to add, in addition to "I love south of the border," I've added kind of a palm tree on one side. I might try and replicate that on the other side too, and I'm just going to continue to add details until I'm happy with it. Alright, when you think you're finished, you can just allow your frame to sit and dry and make sure you unplug your hot glue stick if you were using one of those. And then when it's dry, you can pull off all the excess glue. So don't worry if you have little bits of glue on the frame itself. You can pull those off when you're finished. Okay, and I think I'm all finished. What do you think? I've got my family at the aquarium with those bright and colorful tropical pieces from the puzzle. And for my south of the border, I got some buttons and it spells out "I love south of the border." I hope that you were able to follow along and make a frame of your own. and if you weren't able to do it today, that you'll keep it in mind and try it another time. They make great gifts to give to people, especially a mom or a grandma around Mother's Day. That could be a lot of fun. Or to a friend, if you got a picture of you and your bestie, you can put that inside your frame and give them that. Ready to head back into my lamp and say goodbye to Cosette? Me too. Let's go. Welcome back to the Magic Lamp, friends. I enjoyed working on these frames with you today outside of the Magic Lamp, and especially reading the true story of our three little pigs and how maybe Mr. Wolf there might have been framed. I don't know. It's up to you, I guess, as a reader to decide, are the three little pigs telling the true and full story, or is the wolf telling the true and full story? What do you think, Cosette? These were the couple of frames that I made while I was away. I hope that you like them. And I hope you were able to make some frames of your own. And remember, this is an activity you can do any time of year. If you have some old puzzle pieces that are missing, or buttons, or Legos, crayons, anything you want to repurpose and redecorate and make a frame for your house and for your family. They make really wonderful gifts too if you're looking for a little something special to give away for a holiday or a birthday. And with that, Cosette and I would like to say goodbye for today, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye!